Hello, people of the internet. I hope you all had a great Christmas. I hope you guys had time to relax and breathe and find peace within yourselves. Now, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Today, we're going to be talking about the Northern Shaolin system and some of its pros and its cons. The Northern Shaolin system is not my favorite system. It used to be one of my least favorite, actually. But having had some time apart from it, having had some time to collect my thoughts on the system and revisit it after having not practiced it for a long period of time, I've come to the conclusion that it is a very beneficial system to practice. And the core reasons are because it builds agility, it helps with your kicks and your flexibility, it's good cardio, it's good for your mental health. So we're going to start talking about agility. So if we really think about what does agility mean, right? Quick movement, fast movement, powerful movement. So being able to be quick, light on your feet, that's definitely an attribute of the Northern Shaolin system. It's not very rooted and grounded like a style like Southern Praying Mantis would be, or Pak Mei, or a Hung Gar. So it's definitely a good counter system in terms of training and what you get from it, because for Hung Gar, for example, you definitely build a stronger root. You are more solid. You do develop more power. But with Shaolin, you do get the ability to be light on your feet. I would argue that you're a little bit faster. You have the ability to maneuver more. And that's going to lead into our second part, right? Kick development. Having the capacity to kick high is important, and Shaolin has a lot of high kicks, and the reason I say it's important is because it makes low kicks so much easier. So for example, when we practice Hung Gar, most of the kicks are below the waist or at waist height. We don't really go much higher than that. Some people will exaggerate a front kick or like a back kick, depending on the form, and kick a little bit higher than the typical target area. We don't kick high in that system. So having a style like Northern Shaolin as a side style that you practice can help you to develop that skill, which will improve your Hung Gar technique, or any technique really. If you're a Wing Chun person, right? Wing Chun barely has kicks, doesn't have high kicks, or if it does, it's from a branch that added it later on. And so you take a style like Shaolin, and maybe you don't use the hand techniques. Maybe you just practice it for the sake of building agility, building flexibility, and gaining that capacity to do certain things with greater ease. So flexibility, another great attribute, and that also comes with developing kicks, right? You need to be flexible to be able to kick higher, but there's also more components, core strength, and all that stuff that go into kicks. Flexibility in the lower, as you get the flexibility of practicing kicks consistently in these forms, the longer stances help to build flexibility. So that much is rooted in the practice itself. Nothing needs to be changed or modified to develop those skills. And it's not like stretching, right? If I'm just doing stretching, I have a session where I just stretch, plain stretches, normal stretches. It's not going to train me the same way that the forms would, right? Because with the forms, I get to build my muscles too, right? There's a strain in my quads, there's a strain in my hip, there's a strain in my rear leg, there's a strain in my front leg, different parts of the body working together to build more strength, to build more dynamic movement. So that's the flexibility component. Then we're going to move on to cardio. The Northern Shaolin forms, specifically the Bak Sil Lum system, comprised of 10 core forms, among others, but there's 10 core, and each one is varying length, and compared to styles like Northern Praying Mantis or even karate and taekwondo, you look at their kata, you look at the forms, they're relatively short, and you compare it to Bak Sil Lum, yes, we have like Shaolin number 6, Shaolin number 5, that are pretty short comparatively to numbers like 3 or 10 and 9. So the way this system is supposed to be practiced is 1 through 10. So one would be like the warm up. It has a lot of kicks. It has a lot of circular movement, a lot of repetition because you're building up your body, right? You're warming up so that you can get through the rest. Number two is lengthy. Also has a lot of kicks. Number one is shorter than two, but number one is a lot more densely concentrated with kicks, though two, in terms of number count, has more kicks. Number three is the longest of the 10. Number four is shorter. Number five is shorter. Number six is shorter. Then you start to build up. Seven is a little bit longer. Eight is a little bit longer. Nine is longer. 10 is longer than nine. So it's a good, like, 10 form workout. And it's definitely going to be taxing, right? It's definitely going to be beneficial to your cardiovascular system, to your respiratory system. It is a workout. And I recommend those of you that know the 10 forms and you haven't tried it to try it. Last thing, mental health. And the reason I incorporated this is because I like to incorporate that into everything that I do. The Northern Shaolin system is, and this goes for all Kung Fu styles, they're all rooted in their philosophy of origin. So we have to look back to our system's origin and really appreciate what it can do for us, right? The Buddhist religion is all about release, right? Not holding on to unattainable desire, not pushing for things that are unreasonable, not holding on to things that are not serving us, and looking inward to see what our own faults are, what our own ailments are, and how we can reflect on those things and overcome them. Meditation is a big component in this system. I mean, and if I'm being honest, I am not a big sit down and meditate kind of person. I am a more walk around or draw or write or do something active to meditate, to look inward, because sitting down and being still doesn't help me. And maybe that's one of the areas I need to grow in. But you have to find what works for you and what you consider to be a meditation and use that opportunity to look inward, right? At the end of the day, that's what I think Shaolin is about, is being able to feel what we're dealing with. And if we take the philosophy of Buddhism, right, the whole notion of detachment, the whole notion of seeking greater education, or enlightenment, as they would call it, that is where this system thrives in terms of the benefit that it can pose to somebody, because everything else is relative to what your body can do. Agility, flexibility, cardio, all of that stuff. If your body can't do it, the system is useless, right? If I'm paralyzed, if I have an injury, if I can't practice, sure, I can try to overcome those ailments, and I should, but if I can't overcome these ailments for whatever variety of reasons, does that mean the system is not viable? No, the system can still be viable, just in a very different way, in a self-help kind of way, not in a physical development, but in a mental development, right? The same tools that we use to practice our Kung Fu, right? We have to be disciplined, we have to be focused, we have to be humble, we have to have the capacity to work hard, we have to have good work ethic, we have to be detail-oriented. There are so many facets to Kung Fu, to Shaolin, to any martial practice that can be applied to our day-to-day lives, and Shaolin or not, those things can boost the quality of our mental health. And having a meditative component embedded in our practice, I think, should force us to think about those things. And unfortunately, in our community, a lot of people don't, right? They're so hell-bent on tradition and doing things the right way and trying to sort of live up to a pre-established standard. And to me, that's not here nor there, because what am I really doing with this practice if it's not helping me to its max capacity? if I'm just trying to share the system because my teacher gave me this responsibility of carrying the lineage and blah blah blah, who am I servicing? Right? I'm servicing the lineage. Who, a bunch of dead guys? No, that's not worth it to me. Not anymore. Used to be, but then I realized what we state in the Shaolin Temple. You know, the moves have been the same for over 1,000 years to make the world a better place. That's the most important part. And that starts here. I better myself so I can better the world, so to speak. Shaolin is tough. The training is tough. The system is tough. Traditional or contemporary, either way. And we look at these 10 forms, the core 10 forms that we spoke about earlier. Practicing them 1 through 10 is tough, like I stated earlier. But that's the thing. That's the point, right? Say, oh, we have all these movements and fighting techniques. Why would we need so much stuff to develop fighting techniques? And fighting techniques need to be simple, blah, 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 blah. It's not about the fighting techniques. It's about building yourself. It's about building your character. And we break down our bodies. We torture our bodies through training to better our mind. And there's a duality to it because you have to learn control. Too much of anything is a problem. So finding that middle ground of being able to break myself down without keeping myself down. Breaking myself down and building myself up little by little. And that is where the mental health component comes in. Hello, humans of the internet. So originally I was planning to make this video about the pros and cons, but as per usual, it ended up being a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. So next week I will post a video about the cons of the system, and I'm sure there'll be some pros sprinkled in. But yeah, so this is a lot of the benefits of the system. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And check me out on my other social media pages. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok. I don't really check my TikTok, so I prefer Instagram really. And I just don't like Facebook. But I'm there. So have any questions, drop a line, drop an email, drop a DM, whatever you feel like doing. And yeah, see you on the next one. Take care, be well.